This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night.
Woo! Welcome to One Nation Radio. It is the June 2nd edition. My name is Rich Latta, of course, and I'm here with my co-host, James Boyd. James, what the fuck is going on?
You know exactly what the fuck is going on out here. I see. Come on, so go ahead. Let's. Okay, do we give a? Should we do a table of contents at the front end of the show to give people what we're going to talk about, and then move on to topics, or what? Or you want to do first?
Look, they know why they're here. This is the JON MOXLEY Appreciation Show. We're also going to talk about NXT, and we'll give you a preview of the show that's happening from the country that WWE is not allowed to talk about on the air. But make sure you guys are checking out all the shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, visiting our Pro Wrestling Tees store. Pick yourself up some Social Suplex merch, as well as the sponsor of this show, Powerslam.tv, 5,000 hours of independent wrestling content on there. Probably have some new JON MOXLEY on that bitch at some point. Seeing as how he's not in WWE anymore. Seeing as how this man's all over the world and the hottest star in the business. And he lit Vincent Kennedy McMahon ablaze. Boy. So, where do we begin, James?
I mean, let's see. I don't know. I mean, there was so much in that podcast. Like, I mean, went down the timeline. It's funny because we were doing the weekly review shows on LOP Radio, and we would talk about how nuts the whole heel turn thing was until the end of his tenure was. And it's really interesting that, like, the almost exact same things we saw and thought were bad television or just bad approaches for a character or a storyline or TV, quite frankly. And he pretty much he pretty much laid out in lesser detail, because, we were hitting this week after week to week, but in minutes here and there, like, he went through it and was, hacking at it somehow how stupid this was. Like, between the can't. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you want to follow through that, or do you want to, briefly summarize that, or where do you want to go, or do you want to just go based off like his attitude and him trying to cut through all the bullshit and all of the middleman he has to get to Vince, who was ultimately the end all be all for everything that's on this television?
We'll get there, but first, I want to take a victory lap on all these motherfuckers.
Okay, Denzel.
That come out here and defend Vincent Kennedy McMahon like they are employed. They bend over backwards so far they are coming out on the other side. As you guys may have heard me say before. JON MOXLEY not only verified what the fuck we're talking about, but he echoed the sentiments that led to a rival promotion being started in North America.
Yeah.
Let's get to it, man. So
I think that was some top notch, like Stephen A. radio. I think that was some top notch.
You know,
like I think that the bending so far backwards that whatever that line is, like that is like your new unmitigated gall.
Yes.
I think that's your new one. You own to something. You need to keep that in the chamber.
I will. And boy, it just felt good to be right. You know? Yeah, man. So the week basically started. I had first heard about the show probably like a day or two before on Twitter. Someone had asked Jericho, and for all we know, Jericho asked someone to randomly tweet at him because that's how he started the Kenny Omega feud. He was like, yeah, they were like, when is Jon Moxley going to be on Talk is Jericho? He was like, actually, now that you mention it, he's going to be on Wednesday. So the buzz was building. I had sent it to our group chat. I didn't really, get a lot of response on it. I didn't think anybody really wanted to engage or anything. But when it came out, James, we had recorded a show that night. I believe it was the last LOP show, and it went like 2.5 hours, so we were up actually kind of late that night. Yep. I decided to go to sleep before, work and all that. I had to get up early. James stayed up like the night owl he is and was listening to it.
You don't even be telling people that I stay up all times of night. Like, look, I have problems with insomnia, and I don't need people knowing that exactly. I don't, whatever. Let's come on. Go ahead.
Jamie, up all night, rolling, ain't slept in weeks.
Wow. Okay, sure. That's exactly what that issue is.
But James began filling up the group chat late at night, and whenever I woke up to it, I kind of just rolled over around 6:30 a.m. and I decided, fuck it, I'm about to listen to it now. Twitter's ablaze already, and I got into it, and boy, it was lit like Big Mama stove, boy. It was just unbelievable. From the top to the bottom, how he said he was treated in WWE when he, a creative guy like himself, and was signed for his ability to talk and do promos and be compelling, and they weren't interested in any of that. The cool part about it, Jericho just kind of let him unfucking load, and this is probably I actually did a podcast appearance yesterday for Tom on the Military Industrial Suplex show, and he laid it out, or I pretty much told him I thought it was like the grown-up, more polished version of the CM Punk podcast.
Yeah. I actually listened to that podcast earlier today, actually, and I thought it was pretty good podcast, and it was one of those, like, you're being you, but he is still, like, in the cut doing, like, his NPR podcasting voice, and I thought it was cool. It's kind of like I tend to like the kind of podcasts that he's on that you guys did, because, like, I'm not for the sports radio debate back and forth thing that I can yell louder, I can talk for longer and filter bust, so therefore I'm right. But so I really enjoyed that podcast. But and you also, you guys went through a bunch of things between the difference between the Sasha stuff and the Sasha stuff and Leo Rush compared to other people that have their grievances with the company while they're still in the company or forced to stay with the company. So I thought it was cool. But yeah, and also you guys touched on the voicing of people that are not straight up white people in the company, and saying, like, how do you be you when everything's being filtered through one person and one person's voice? And that's why we have this, you didn't talk about this that much, but, like, that's kind of the reason why we have, like, everybody talks the same, everybody says the same stuff, everybody says this unbelievable, catchphrases and lingo and jargon or whatever else that normal people wouldn't actually say. They have to call a belt or at least except for Becky has to call the belt a title or a championship. Anyway, that's why I'm moving on. But yeah, he a lot of that stuff irritated him, and a lot of the stuff, and I've lost track of what we were talking about. I mean, we were talking about Ambrose, but what specifically we were talking about with Ambrose? I forgot.
Pretty much like the, how he was using the company, and
yeah,
he was this compelling character, but they didn't want him to be that.
Yeah, and it's funny because you go through the people talk about the documentaries, and they always do when they do the worked shoot stuff for the documentaries and everything, and like 24 or Chronicle or whatever else. And I mean, you go watch that Chronicle, and I think I told you the first time I saw it, I was like, this thing is incredible. Like, this is absolutely what his character should be versus what you see on the TV screen. It is very much follows in a pattern when I keep telling you about the network. The stuff they put on the network all the time, whether it's the pay-per-views, whether it's the documentaries, whether it was Talking Smack, what have you. These people, the people that live in it, because they are the people that are portraying these roles, have a better grip on an idea on and feel on the character than Vince does, because Vince is, changing his mind constantly, and it's a lot worse now than it was, or at least it feels like, than it was, let's say, even 2 years ago. But that's in the way. And when people tell stories, like you have all types of different ways to handle it. Like, you can either focus on your characters and service your characters, or you could service the story and focus on, like, we have this elaborate thing and we're trying to weave a tapestry. And honestly, they are so far gone on one end of at least for me, I used to think that Vince was a character, or was a character guy, and that's why the stories get wonky from time to time. But if it pays off with the match is fire because you told the story of whatever else, cool. Then, like, okay, that at the end of the day, like, it went through and it made the story work because that's the conclusion, if you will. So let's say the story was wonky, they paid it off. Like Sasha and Charlotte, all that was, the story was wonky, but we're trying to get these two people over, these two characters over, and the character really is, or the characters of both of them really is, they hate each other's guts and they want to prove who's the best. So we'll go. But you go through this, and it's more or less, you come to realize, like, yes, he's a character guy, but he keeps losing sight of what the hell ever is the character. And it keeps coming through more and more when you see, someone like NXT call-ups come up and they don't really change the character. It's more or less like Triple H and whoever else in the actual worker, they bring up these people and they're more or less versions of what they kind of were in the indies, but they kind of WWEize and they put it into the NXT world, and you kind of get an idea of what they are. Or they do some changes, like Aleister Black, Tommy and Aleister Black, the same thing. Ricochet is more or less, they ported him in as Ricochet, right?
And honestly, why would you do anything but? I
mean, not everybody can just come in as is, because there are a lot of rough edges that kind of need to be, for TV in theory, right? Like, let's say they were to sign someone like Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy Havoc can't come in as Jimmy Havoc, the motherfucker that's here doing all these death matches, right?
Yeah.
So you got to kind of cool off some of that. Or, I mean, in the case of, hell, Ambrose is a CZW guy. So, yeah, like, Ambrose can't come in as being Moxley doing, have his head chopped off or have his forehead chopped off in death matches with electric saws. Anyway, okay, so really what I'm getting at is, I've come to the realization while listening to this that Vince is still the character guy I think he was, but he's so out of touch that it has now affected everything.
Yes.
I mean, like, it's just affected everything, and it's just done. It's kaput until they move on. Like, before I thought, like, you need to get him out of here, or he needs to be around and he can work one angle. Now, whereas, like, he's screwing up the characters, and him ruining these characters makes it to where nothing matters. Like, it doesn't matter if they have the match that goes and pays off a bad storyline that makes you forgive a storyline being bad or bland or nonsensical or whatever else. He's just like, he's so far gone that he's not going to be able to create another superstar. He's just not. And if that's the case, he needs to go. Like,
bounce, hollow.
It's a start making business.
Depart.
It's a start making business. Like, this is based on individuals, and he can't make individual people want to go tune in to see unless they've been around for a long time and pushed at a certain level. And that's the only thing that informs you about why you should care about the character. Not the, I empathize with him, I aspire to be him, I was shown sides or emotion I didn't know I could see by watching her. That stuff, it doesn't exist anymore. The only way you get those kind of things are if it is they have screwed up a storyline and people have rejected it for the person that got fucked over in the bad storyline they told, like Becky, or they're invested because of something got completely placed in their lap, like Kofi. Like that's supposed to be Ali's thing. Ali would not have gotten over to that extent, but he would have gotten over after that kind of performance. But because he's a very talented promo, but I mean now that's where we are. And you look at where Roman is. Roman came back. Nobody is booing him, but he came back exactly like he was for the past, 6 years? I think I made the joke that like he's been in the Shield for 6 years. Like Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have, to more or less extent, broke out and left the Shield. Roman Reigns is still in the paint, boots on with the
Roman Reigns
on, or whatever you want to call him, in the vest.
Roman Reigns is 27 years old with a fucking high school letter jacket on.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. I mean, and the best part, and the part that like encapsulates it is, and I'm not saying that is Roman's fault. Like, and I've been saying this for a while now. Every single person on the main roster, when something is fucked up, unless some like performance, like I think you're giving a flat performance and feel like you're dead behind the eyes, Baron Corbin. Like, unless it's somewhere I feel like nobody has zero passion, zero charisma, zero personality. Like, unless it's that, I'm everything is Vince's fault. So, I mean, obviously, like say just botches in a match, something like that, or the matches aren't on the point. Like that stuff that you can isolate. The stuff you can isolate, I can blame the performers and the wrestlers for that. Everything else, all him. So, with Roman is even back to that moment that has crystallized all this is his second week back. He wants to reform the fucking Shield. His second week back, he wants to get the Shield back together. And just like you saying, like he's a 20-something-year-old that's still wearing out a Letterman jacket. Like, yeah. First week, I am humbled and honored to tell y'all that I'm in remission, y'all. Next week, hey Steph, I need you to do something for me. I need you to forgive Ambrose. Now, look. I understand that he said that God's punishing me for beating people up. I understand it. Let's forget.
So then of course we have to talk about the one story where basically Moxley lays it out like, he's got this ridiculous promo that he's been given, and there's just a bunch of things that are, it's nothing that a cool person does, a relatable person does. There's nothing that a guy you even want to hang out, have a beer with, or you would even want to root for. Like, these are things that an idiot would do. Things like driving backwards on a unicycle or sharing a pizza with a homeless man. And he basically is like, I got to go talk to Vince, essentially, because the writer is like, yeah, I can't really do nothing because Vince says you need to recite this shit verbatim. So Moxley goes in there. And he was like, man, Vince, I can't say this stuff. This is ridiculous. And, Vince is like, oh, it's such good shit. This stuff, this is the reason people like you. They connect to you. You're different, and it's so you. Because I'm an idiot. It's you.
No. You've got to get a chuckle. He does when Ambrose is telling this story, he says that, so what you think my character is an idiot. And then Vince goes, it's you. It's one of those things where like somebody's trying to run a scam on you.
Yes.
You catch them, and then instead of
they realize
trying to keep up with it,
they realize you caught them.
Yes, and they're laughing and they're trying to charm you now, and they pivot. He goes, it's you. It's like, okay, Vince. All right, Vince.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
he goes on to talk about how the entire creative process in WWE is broken.
Well, hold on, real quick. So, I think I tell you about this one. I told you about this before a bunch of times. So you used to always talk about a prop comedy. We used to call him prop comic, and then sure enough, he calls himself a prop comic as well. Mm-hmm. So it's so funny because I've also, my other one was always say, like, he used to come out with when they were at the casino, and that man had that green foam cowboy hat looking like Busta Rhymes, and to give me some more video.
Right.
And sure enough, and then he talks about, the ketchup and the hot dogs, and why does Vince always have me in a fucking vehicle?
Yes. Said, don't let them know you got a shred of comedic timing, because they'll fucking or don't let there be any nouns in a promo, because you'll end up with said prop there. Yep.
Real quick.
He just busted the WWE wide open. Like just completely exposed Vince McMahon's lack of touch in 2018, 17, 19, 20, whatever going forward. He didn't know why he was cutting certain promos at certain points, and it was just like, I feel so bad for this guy. And also, none of this is new. This is what we say. This unrelatable shit that doesn't connect with anyone, and then we wonder why the crowd reactions don't always add up. Then we wonder why matches are being had in silence.
Yeah, I think another part about it is, in the larger scheme, is why do you have all these people around you as a brain trust and people that help write and pitch you ideas if the only thing you're really interested in getting pivoted on is wording from time to time, So a lot of this is, and Ambrose said, is the infrastructure he built, and is meant to make all the wrestlers literally disposable. Everybody's a mid-carder, and you look at the TV, everybody's interchangeable, and that's the reason why, because everybody's the same, everybody talks the same, so all it is it's just in a new fancy package. It's 50 people, it's 50 people, 10 of them are women on one brand, 50 of them, or not 50, let's say 35 of them are men, and they all show up on, that same number shows up on Monday, that same number shows up on Tuesday, and that's it. They're all basically the same. Some are supposed to be evil this week, some are supposed to be good this week, and they interact with each other, and they all talk the same.
Yeah, and
that's their television.
Yeah,
and the only thing that's really different is the aesthetics of the way they look and dress.
So that's not good. Yeah. He then talked about how he didn't know how the creative process works, and just different stuff. He said he was not an actor. And that's pretty much what these people are. There's something about pooper scoopers that Vince was insisting on being in there. There was also something where he refused to say a line about Roman Reigns' leukemia that was even worse than the one that was on there. And think about, had he just went along with it, right? If it was so bad it was going to lose sponsors, bruh, we know how this company gets down. If you fought with the sponsors, they're going to fight with you. And then it's going to be the heat would have rolled back on Ambrose the wrong way.
I mean, okay, so I think from a outside or a maybe a casual fan that doesn't realize how heavily all this stuff is scripted. I think it might be handled the same way that they're handling the same as anything in the AEW match, where somebody put it in. Nobody's going to take accountability for them putting in that dumb shit. It was probably Vince that left it in there because he thought it was a killer line because it's cheap heat. And then somebody's head's going to roll and they move on. But then the wrestler may or may not get punished for not having the brain to say, I shouldn't say this dumb shit. So, I mean, maybe he would have got something, but more likely, it would have been a writer or whoever posted the last thing that got fired for that.
And he made it really clear that the wrestlers aren't scared to get fired, and he pushed back on all the Attitude Era guys that say that you need to speak up, and he pretty much let them know this is not the Attitude Era anymore, bro. The whole shit is different now. And to his credit, he was always a guy, at least how he painted it, and then when you look at his execution, he'll try to make the best of whatever he's given there. Doesn't mean that it's going to work out. Doesn't mean that it's going to be like the hottest thing, but what he's going to do is try to do the best he can with it. And he's going to get the greatest thing is you can't call him unprofessional. You can't call him like somebody that didn't value, the opportunity he was given. Basically, anything the FDS would have thrown on him to try to undercut exactly what the fuck he was saying and the overall message. All that can be shoved right up your asses. So, and there's more like that, or in the Jericho thing. It's just so explosive, and he hated all the goofy shit. So I'm gonna need everyone that was calling Wade Keller's report bullshit and saying this is a work. I'm gonna need all y'all to go apologize to Wade Keller in his mentions, and bow down like the West Side Connection before that man, and say I'm sorry. So, and another thing, he talked about how the video was made and all that. These fucking assheads that assume that only WWE can foot the bill on something that looks like that because they're in such a fucking bubble with wrestling. And when it comes to wrestling in WWE, they think they're the only ones capable of this. Our homeboy Jason can shoot that video, James.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, also Diaz too can also do
Diaz
that,
can do that. So, what up, Diaz?
Yeah, it's just, it's always weird for me for them saying that who could afford the production budget for this. And it's like, I don't know how much y'all know Dean Ambrose has made over the years in WWE, but like he's had years where he's racked up over $1 million. Years,
multiples,
plural, not just one, not just 2 years, and like so. Let's say you thought it cost $50,000. In theory, he had the bread for that. In theory, so whatever. And I remember, I think at the time we said to you, that's something he absolutely could afford. He absolutely could have afforded. And this day and age, the only thing you can really tell as far as video quality is whether or not like. If something's really bad and really cheaply made, it looks really bad and really cheaply made. But outside of that, it's all relatively looks the same, especially because there's no computer graphics or anything. Like it was just straight up shots and lighting.
And I love the fact that he told Vince McMahon to go to hell and to call Dave Bautista or Triple H or Brock for the European tour when he tried to hoodwink him into doing it. And he said he was working on a film project, which turned out to be the video that we all lost our minds over. And he protected himself, ironically, by not engaging in social media the whole time he was in WWE. The second that he breaks out, it's a whole new world, and he's a master of it already.
Yeah, I would say that I think that he, at this point, like he needs to do all of the interviews he wants to do as far as WWE right now, get it out of the system forward from there. Because let's say he does this like 6 months from now, and then 9 months from now, he'll be like, okay, we get like you do it all now because it's still fresh, but at a certain point, people start lobbing that bitter at you, and then you're just gonna be bitter for the rest of your life. So, he definitely had his grievances, but I really, you think about what he talks about. Like the stuff is about, oh, my positioning was stupid, or I should have been a top guy, or I should have went over.
All right, we're back. We have some technical difficulties. James, you were saying that Moxley's grievances weren't that he was not a top guy, or after a championship or something like that.
Yeah. His grievances weren't like the stuff that people call you bitter for, like I was misused, or as he said, like when he said like I could have been a contender, but Hogan, politicked me out of it. But and a lot of stuff was
the folks that want to screenshot his Wikipedia page with those fake championships that have never meant less in this era, and then try to use that as justification for him being pushed correctly.
Yeah. So yeah, you're talking about Sasha, right? So he talked about like the stories don't make the stories, and and from week to week didn't match up, didn't make sense. And he was saying stuff that as a heel or whatever else was just weak. So he talked about how basically his fight was he was basically fighting to try to get something to make some damn sense, which I don't really see the issue with that. And you heard stuff like that from time to time about, like, hell, the Bellas. After Nikki turned on Brie at SummerSlam 2014, 14, she mentioned that as I've seen this before on YouTube, where she mentions that they're both together. Mentioned like, so like I betrayed her. I said that I wish she died in the womb, and like she never gets a payoff on me. No,
right,
and it's like stuff like that. That everybody has stories like that. But Ambrose reached a point where like he was gone for months, and to me, it seems to me that he was in the company for forever, so he does it, and things weren't as bad. He gets hurt. He starts watching wrestling around the world. He sees wrestling around. Like, wow, this shit's not discombobulated like our show is. Gets in it, and it's like it doesn't have to be this scatterbrained and not in in Okaka, So, I think he was like, yo, this is not what the rest of the world is doing, and this is supposed to. We have all these resources. Why are we putting out worse product with better resources than, plus X, Y, and Z? Because he mentioned like I watch Ring of Honor, I watch Impact, I watch New Japan. And he said he watched some of the old stuff, and it's like, what's missing here? And so you go from that part where he starts saying he rewatches stuff, regain the love of wrestling, and realize like, I don't really want to do sports entertainment too much no more.
Yeah, and he talked about AEW is like completely different, and it seems to be a place where wrestlers are going to have just so much more like of a chance to exercise their abilities to be wrestlers. He talked about having the ability to cut promos and talk people into the building. He learned those skills a long time ago, and he never got a chance to display those. He talked about how he felt like in 10 minutes in AEW, he did more than he did in the last 6 months in WWE. He basically was just, talking, more, and with the Jericho thing, it was like, it was such an atomic bomb and just such a confirmation of everything. And this dude did it, quote unquote, the right way, and he said he that promo at the end he thought it was an ambush, so he said some stuff to protect himself. The whole thing, like the $1 Million Man didn't get his way, essentially, where he was talking about Vince. I saved my money and I'm cashing out, and he talked about how they only gave him $500 for the last Shield shows, and he never understood why they did this weird ass press release talking about how they hope he comes back, and they roll out the fucking red carpet and make him say goodbye 1,000,000 times. And the crazy thing was Dean Ambrose, like, they were trying to make him say goodbye to all the fans, but he was not saying goodbye to all the fans. He was saying goodbye to y'all. Like, y'all, it was like they were in denial as much as their ridiculous fans are that were in denial about this shit. It was like, yo, they wanted to control the narrative around this guy, and just like they want to control the narrative for Saudi Arabia and pretty much everything else they put out. If Jon Moxley didn't understand this, and I'm probably going to call him Dean Ambrose for a while just because it's drilled at this point, but I'm going to try to say Moxley as much as possible, so bear with
Branding,
me.
pal.
Yeah. So Moxley, like, if he didn't understand it, like, that's crazy. Like, he was like, oh, it's like this glowing review, like that he got. He talked about the burying with Nia Jax. He didn't have an issue doing that, but he knew why it was happening. And Vince McMahon just being a total, like, complete absent-minded individual when he actually gives his notice. Dean knew he was gone in July of 2018, essentially. He hated the inoculations and everything else. It's just amazing. He was like, Vince started babyfacing him. He's like, oh, I understand you gave your notice. Thank you so much for everything. And then Vince tries to justify it to himself. And he was like, I wish you would have told me. And it's almost like, motherfucker, like he walked in the office all the time to tell you, like, he wasn't happy with this shit. How are you surprised? Why do you not know? Learn the lesson. Like, as we say on this show. But he talked about the depression he would get knowing he had to go to fucking work on Monday. And it was just like, he didn't need to be there anymore. Like, like he got a sick feeling in his stomach. Yeah, man, it's nuts. And he talked about that last that interview he did with Hunter, which gave us the great meme of Ambrose getting out the ring, what that looked like. You know, sorry, motherfuckers. Like, and he had it in his. He thought it was a setup. So, and I attribute that to Ambrose being kind of an old school guy. And he was like, yeah, man, they had me with a mic, and I was ready. You know, I had bullets in the chamber ready for a shoot, like, like with him. So, and it was crazy, man. Like, the whole thing with them, like, Jericho talked about Stockholm syndrome with a lot of the wrestlers and different stuff like that. And they literally paint AEW as the Brave New World. Like they're in color, in the Wizard of Oz and shit. Like, I loved it. I wanted to crush it up and snort it. This podcast was everything.
Wow. So, yeah. So I think one of my favorite ones he touched on it was the fact that, like, his last match he gets $500 for the match. It's like Dean Ambrose is probably getting, like, at that point in time, like, per match on a per match basis, like he was getting paid like what? Something like $15,000 a match on a per match basis back, like, for the last, like, 4 years or so, something like that for him.
Right.
So of course that's kind of like one of those okay. Okay. It's like that Drake. I know what this is.
Yep, I know what this is.
They messed with him, and yeah. So I mean, whatever. Like, I think I said to you not too long ago that I think that, like, eventually he'll come back just for the, you know, the going to WWE Hall of Fame and the, you know, the Shield reunion thing and trying to make him like a new, like a DX thing or whatever at some point, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. But I think that's still there, but, you know, it'll be very much like Warrior or whoever else, where it's like Triple H has to extend a hand for that one, for that sort of thing. And then, like, you know, they'll bring the cameras around, and it'll, just like with Warrior, they'll bring Warrior out there to go shake hands with Hogan. I'm not Hogan, but Vince. And then they'll, you know, they have, you know, the cameras around, so it's all copacetic. Meanwhile, like, okay, sure. So, yeah, I mean, it's really a sad thing that, like, somebody that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't think that's gonna happen until Moxley's about 50 years old. So, go ahead.
Yeah, that's going to be something that's definitely like 15, 20 years down the line. I mean, but luckily, I mean, not luckily, but, you know, 15, 20 years online, we expect that Triple H is going to be a person that's going to be in charge of that. And, like, I mean, he's always proved to be somebody that's more open and reaching out than Vince has. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just bad for Vince. And then, like, another part about it is crazy is Jericho has hinted at this, and Meltzer has hinted at this, and, like, the inquiries about what's outside of WWE from the actual inside talent and also within NXT
fucking
is
growing.
Like, yeah, and it's like this. Like, man, they're ass trying to get off the ship, bro.
Like somebody, I feel like somebody knows something. Like they know something. Like this money that's about to come in from the TV deals, not gonna insulate them forever. And it's not. It is gonna be no guarantee because they are going to have to pull ratings. And there's not enough spots.
I think the thing is that, right, you're right. It's, you hoarded so much talent. The game theory, I mean, it's separate things, right? The game theory is that the more people, the more bodies you have for this means that there is less TV time and opportunity to become a star, and thereby have less opportunities to sell shirts, to get your 2.7% on DVDs, as Ambrose said it.
Right.
So that there is a problem, right? Especially because they're not going to do nothing with most of these motherfuckers. Then you get to the point of the TV is worse than it's ever been. Like, it'd be one thing, and it would be more damning if this was Ambrose saying this stuff. You know, hell, even in 2017, it'd be worse. Right? It's like, what is this? Like, you know, but sorry. But it is really bad. Like, I mean, all this means is everybody. If Dean Ambrose has stories, if Dean Ambrose has stories about Roman Reigns getting fucked over with the suffering succotash thing and he couldn't get out of it, then you know. And we talk about this with Roman Reigns when they're fucking around with his push and they bust his head and beat him with a fucking be an actual shoot, or you're supposed to think it's a shoot, and he gets beaten with a fake ass finishing move. If they can't take care of Roman Reigns, they can't take care of anybody. And then the lower you go, everybody else is going to be even more creatively unfulfilled. And yeah, sure, it is a job, but this also is a time where we have more options for everybody because of the internet, because of overseas, where before, like, if you wanted to become a grapple superstar in America, you kind of had to be here. Now, not so much. Like, if you got the drive for it, the hardcores, whoever else have respect for you, you can go get yourself booked on PWG. You can go to AAW, right? You can go and take your ass over to over to Rev Pro or all the British Indies or whatever else, and go for it.
Right.
You can go through a run where you can wrestle. You can stay for a month and work like 12 dates in Tokyo if you wanted to. It is what it is now. So people are like, look, man, am I gonna do this and I can put on and kind of be fulfilled in some way, in a way that I probably not here, or am I just going to sit on a bunch of money? And the thing is, it seems like we're at a point where, like, the money outside from the rest of the world is getting good enough to where, like, people are starting to say, what I'm gonna do with his stuff.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm glad you brought that up because he said, Moxley said he didn't even look at the last contract that was offered to him, which is just a further fuck you to WWE and and the sympathizers and everything like that. It's like, yo, I got all the money I need. My truck's paid off, my house is paid off, my mother's house is paid off. And obviously you get in that situation from having a lot of money, like where you feel like money doesn't mean everything there. But this guy, it doesn't seem like he was motivated by money ever, because when he was a huge like indie star back then, he was doing that. He was making at most $100 a night. He said, like, according, I think it was on a Wade Keller deal. So it was like this dude would do this if he was broke.
Yeah, and another thing is, I think another part of that this new generation is, as I mentioned, as far as the artistic part is that part of like, I've been broke before. Like, I've been broke before. You talk, the story with Gargano is like, like until he got married, he probably like shared a bed with Ricochet more than he ever did with Candice. Damn. So like, like that's telling it, like, these people are okay and like live that life, and they did that for years to get here, right? So when you look around and you look up and you see that, like, oh yeah, like Bandito got paid, Roosh got paid, like people, Jericho got a good offer from Impact. People aren't scared no more. Yeah. I remember there's less reason to be scared if you are a person that did this and went through that, the indies, or had some type of indie experience or whatever else, or worked small before being like somebody that got picked up from a couple of dates because you had the look or whatever else, or you went to the combine and did a tryout or went to the PC combine or whatever, and they picked you. Like, so, and there's no knock against getting picked that way. Like, I don't care what background you come from. Honestly, I would love for there to be more of the PC guys that work to be given license to, almost go like the Tony Storm, Matt Riddle route, where like there's somebody that WWE has their eyes on, and they're also going to like kind of guide you around trying to go elsewhere because they see something in you besides just sitting there in the, for lack of a better word, the power plant, just collecting dust and getting like 50 matches over 2 years, some shit like there's some ridiculous shit like that. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. Like I'm really probably more like 50 matches in a year, but yeah. So I think that's the better approach. Like, I don't care where you come from. I don't care about your background. Can you work? Can you be a compelling personality? And right now, the compelling personality thing is something that just almost does not exist unless it comes by total accident, like the Becky thing.
Then, of course, he did the follow-up with Wade Keller, which dropped Saturday night. And then there was also a print interview that came out. You guys can seek that one out. He tweeted it out. I do want to talk about the Wade Keller interview a little bit. He said he was essentially cutting the podcast in his head for months, driving up and down the road. And he felt like he needed to shine a spotlight on what's really going on backstage at WWE. It's funny. He then said fans think they know. People like Keller think they know, but they don't really know. But we do really know, John, because we've been saying all these things. It's just how it seems. Like, I don't think they realize.
Okay, hold on.
I don't think they realize the value of what they actually put out.
Well, hold on. What I will say is this: he is right. I think the way what he really meant to say was like, or what he really is trying to get at anyway, is that we may know or we may have read, but like it's different from it. We don't know everything. We know some things. We don't know everything, and I think he didn't say that, but that's how I'm taking it. It's like, and I believe that's the fair approach. Is like, yeah, we get stories and reports, just like how we get stories and reports about, Draymond Green calling Durant on the phone after they lost the finals, some shit like that, right? Like we weren't in, like, granted, we did not hear that conversation, but we have an idea of how the conversation went, and we realized there was a conversation that happened, and we saw that he shows up in Golden State, and I don't know if we need more context than that. I think that's a good enough story. I think that's good enough to know right there. But yeah, like I think that this is really helpful because for someone like him to do this, it's for let you know. And I can't wait till one of these like one of the women, like one of the top women, might do one of these things. And like these are like the new shoot interviews.
I can't wait for
like
the Sasha Banks.
The Jericho podcast is the new shoot interview.
Yes, because obviously Jericho can't ever talk to the WWE folks anymore, and they all those folks end up on E&C or Lillian's podcast or whatever. So, and they're never gonna go there on those shows. I can't wait for the Sasha Banks one when she talks about Alexa Bliss. Oh my God!
My God!
I can't wait. Woo! Hook it up to the veins. There were more stuff. He talked about why more wrestlers don't go off script, and he confirmed that he did it before. And like people were literally chasing him. Vince McMahon was chasing him down the hallway for yelling at him for going off script. And he said the reason that the wrestlers don't do it isn't because the wrestlers are afraid of getting fired. It's like there's a writer producing that segment, and they'll get fired, and they have a mortgage, and they have a family, and everything like that. And he said that kind of creates a weird dynamic with the wrestlers and the writers. He doesn't think writers should exist in wrestling. And
right. And another part about that, when we talk about the Meltzer, I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. When we talk about like the Austin thing, where Austin said we're resting on your laurels and you need to stand out and you need to tell Vince no and do it your way because you have the live mic and all the other shit. Like, okay, how did it work out for Big Cass when he beat that small person last year?
He was gone like a month and a half later.
Like they kept him around. They had him lose. They had him get stretched by Daniel Bryan, and then they got rid of him. Why? Because he told him not to do that, even though he asked to do it because he knew that would get more heat. Because duh, and he went and did it, and now he's Kaz XL, and he's hanging out with Enzo again.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he talked about, Vince McMahon, he's not really sure if Vince is actually a wrestling fan. Like, he sees, like, a blowaway match or something. He's like, if you're working over the leg, like, he likes that stuff. And you can tell by these matches that are designed. He talks about his pre-debut with Mick Foley and what was supposed to happen. But Foley was injured and couldn't get cleared. Thought it was going to be the greatest angle of all time in his debut and everything. But he didn't know it then, but they would have fucked it up because they would have handed them both scripts. And then, like, it's crazy, like, how all that played out. He talked about his debut, the first promo with the Shield. He said they got backstage after the promo. They were all hyped up, and their adrenaline was running, and once the dust settled, they realized none of them understood what they said in the ring. And a funny thing with the Shield always was like, well, what are they? Like, they just said injustice. We're against injustice. But you never really, like, they kind of applied that across the board, and it was like, okay, the Shield of Injustice. All right. Yeah, and, Vince, he says Vince is always what he's been, but the world around him has changed. And in 2019, Vince doesn't know what the fuck is going on anymore, in those words. And he's exactly correct. It's, he talked about, being over enough. And he talked about, his lack of resentment towards Roman Reigns because of their relationship. He knew he had a stronger crowd connection with the fans, and you guys can just go through the document. I want to say, when I was rewatching the 2015 Royal Rumble for Dave Finishow last year, and this is like, when you watch that, the only other person that's getting cheered at the end is Ambrose. And yeah. 2016, of course, when he's in the final two and people are going nuts and want him to win and become the guy, he doesn't get it. The whole time going into WrestleMania 32, that's the window that they just missed. And he was the fucking dude. Like, he was like people liked him. They didn't see it that way. And it feels like...
Well, he was the dude, isn't like, this person has the buzz right now, so run with the hot hand. In the same way that, like, the very next year it was Strowman, right? So, or the year or later in the year, it turned into AJ. It was like, people get hot, and there's really nothing in the way right now. There's not like there's a John Cena right now where it's like, all right, John's always gonna be on top. Or even if John's always gonna be top, like, you can always make him the CM Punk number 2 or the 1B or whatever you want to call it. They don't do that anymore. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what happens. I don't know if they just let go of the rope or they lose focus on people because they're so attention bound, or they're so focused on trying to get Roman Reigns to the next level for like the 45,000th time. But that's kind of where it is. And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to watch. And like, in the voice, someone is like, imagine living it. It's like, I get you.
Yeah, he talked about the overexposure that goes on there, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, the Keller interview was even crazier because it's just a follow up to the Jericho one, and he was a dude. It kind of feels like stunning Steve Austin leaving WCW right now and going to ECW and being like, Dusty Rhodes is not meant for you, baby, and all that shit. And it feels like this dude knows what he has. He knows his ability to connect with people is through his words, and they took his biggest strength away from him. So no matter how much, like, if you don't necessarily dig his wrestling style or anything like that, what's going to attract people to him, and it's already happening, are his words and his memory and his wit. And I think wrestling needs more of that. Like, for the last 3 years, we've gushed about the match quality and everything like that, right? But I've almost kind of come to the point where it's like, yo, like, Kenny's my favorite guy. I love Okada. I love Gargano. I love all these guys. And it's like, yo, every other month is going to be a 5-star match. And I love it. Don't get it twisted. But, like, when there's nothing that's going to compel you more than the voice, than someone talking to you, to someone letting you know how they feel and just falling into that. And when it happens the right way, you can't beat that. But WWE's problem is that they cannot no one has a voice there.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think one of the most telling things is that, like, you look at what the run up to the Saudi show, the second Saudi show, the one that was Crown Jewel, like the stuff they were doing. So like the stuff between that and Super Showdown to build towards the Undertaker, the last Undertaker and Triple H match we'll ever see allegedly, in the Shawn Michaels tag or the DX versus Brothers of Destruction match, is how, because those guys that have been around for 20 plus years with the company, and one is, second in command, and, the, like, all the stuff they were allowed to say each other and that, just would not be allowed for other people, like for the regular roster. And it's like, there's a reason why, and we talked about it, like, why in the world are like these old guys washing the new guys? It's because the old guys get to go out there and be parts of themselves, as opposed to Roman has to say "suck free, suck attached," a phrase I'm sure he never ever said before, and I'm sure he's never said again unless he was muttering it in just disgust, because it began to define what then shaped the rest of his career as a babyface that doesn't get the reaction he should be getting. Because Vince doesn't know how to make heroes anymore.
Ultimately, it comes down to Vince McMahon not getting it, and he pointed the gun at him all week, and it's just like it's validation, it's confirmation, it's any other kind of Asian that you want to come up with. And ironically, the second part of the podcast, James, just dropped as we're recording right now.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to drop it? We listen to it and come back, or what do you
my gosh! No, so I think we can still get another week out of this. Like, as part of our AEW coverage here on One Nation Radio. But yeah, this we've still got some more stuff to get to, but I highly encourage everyone to, if you haven't heard it, and I'm sure you got to be under a rock at this point to not have heard at least the Jericho one, but check out the Wade Keller one, and definitely check out that part 2 of the Wade Keller one. They are up for free. You are going to have to wade through some advertisements, so get your skip 30 seconds ahead button ready, because the Wade Keller show was about 14 minutes until it got in, so he loaded that motherfucker up.
Like, if you think that the Jericho, like, people were talking about the Jericho ads because of how, like,
funny them shits were.
Like, they were clearly like he's punching into this audio. Like, he's clearly, like, from what you can tell, I listen to the show, is he's at Ambrose's house. At one point, Renee sticks her head around and she goes, "Hey, Renee." And I'm like, "Oh, bro, you making her block hot. What you doing?" Yes. But anyway, so you clearly tell that, like, they were having a conversation that was recorded for, like, roughly 2 hours. And then, like, it got edited up. And then they're like, "All right, punching here, 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 and here." And then, like, I thought it was, I don't know if it was on purpose. I thought it was a rib when he talked about the Pooper Scooper, how he had to fight all day and long to make sure that Vince didn't see Pooper Scooper because he was afraid of him saying, "I'm not going to come out here in this Pooper Scooper." And then, like, the next week, that man's going to come out here and have the Pooper Scooper for real on deck because that's a noun. And he told you, Vince will turn a noun into a prop real quick. So, like, from there, the Pooper Scooper thing, also next thing is, like, he's talking about kitty litter, and I was like, okay, Jericho, this has to be a rib. This has to be a little jokey joke. He's like, he's talking about, it's almost like he was making that ad and, like, thinking that Vince is gonna listen to it. He's like, "God damn it!"
I don't know what Vince.
God damn that Ambrose, and all of a sudden he's like, "Kitty litter, shit."
I don't know what Vince is gonna listen to, but, I think you should check out Powerslam.tv. That with over 5,000 hours of independent wrestling,
Yes, but Wade Keller, dude, I was out here mashing. I was like, I actually had my phone after, like, the third one because it felt like it was every 5 minutes. And, I listen on.
I slowed it down to 1. I slowed it down just to take it all in.
No, I had shit to do, so I put it. I was at 2 speed, and I was like, why does it feel like every few minutes I at one point, like, after, like, the third time, like, I literally just kept my phone in my hand while listening and just kept just every time, because it was like, "Yo, Keller, like, I understand, bro, but, like, damn, bro, like, you really had to milk this joint." And then the best part was, he's like, "If you have a VIP subscription,
I thought thought about getting one.
No
too.
commercials. I was like, boy, you are the goddamn Pandora
Hustler.
YouTube devil.
Hustler. Absolutely. I can't knock the hustle though. Like Wade Keller like did this reporting back in January, and he got the first interview. He can handle it how he wants. Yeah, but moving on, we're gonna take a short break, and we'll be back with a review of NXT Takeover 25, Bridgeport, Connecticut. All right, we are back after a couple minutes, which you guys did not hear because of the power of editing. Last night was NXT Takeover 25, Takeover Connecticut. You know, they were out there in northern Alabama. You know, I don't know where the fuck. Like, I'm from up there. I don't know where the fuck. They were at in Connecticut. Oh, okay. They were in Bridgeport. Okay, I know where that is.
Oh my god!
But fuck yeah, they went to Connecticut for this. I wonder why. I wonder why they chose Connecticut of all.
Well, remember, like, okay, so this particular, okay, so you go through the NXT cycles from recently, like from after Brooklyn to get to War Games, it was all about who done it, who laid out Aleister Black. Then you go from Takeover Phoenix. I'm sorry, from War Games to Phoenix. It's more about like, is Johnny and your boy, are they like coming around like to each other? What's going on here? And then it was all leading to the tag classic, and then the eventual like, okay, yeah, I turn on you. I'm actually coming after your title because I realized you were gaslighting me all this time. So this one is Undisputed going to break up? This whole cycle from New York to 25 was are Undisputed going to break up?
Boy, I called that one quick, didn't I?
So, you know, that whole time that was a storyline, but they had the tapings, and then the date was kind of tentatively in place to go to San Jose for 25 because WrestleMania 31. They had a house show for NXT, and it sold like thousands of tickets. And that was when they got the idea that was the inspiration for the first take for Brooklyn. That was the inspiration for Brooklyn. So, because, you know, I think the main event match for that was Sasha versus Charlotte, and it was so electric that they were like, oh, we actually do have something for, like, it's not just they're putting on good matches. Like, these are just like the most compelling people in developmental. These actual stars. And then Vince decided to put the women's evolution branding on it, and then just treat it as the same thing they does in the main roster, except it's with women. So anyway, so once the Saudi Arabia thing, like the date got set, that messed them up because they were supposed to be doing a takeover next weekend.
That's right.
So like it was supposed to be quote unquote the day after what would have been the greatest Super Showdown, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia 3. So
Blood Money 3.
We don't want it to come on Blood Money 3. So they didn't want to come on after because they always have it to where the close of a weekend or whatever else for WWE is always the main roster, and they don't want like, you know, people to watch back to back and then get washed, right? So or more than usual. So they said, all right, we got to change that date, and where can we find a venue? And they just came up on Bridgeport, Connecticut. And this entire NXT cycle, a lot of it suffered storytelling wise because of what the main roster was doing. Oh, wait, we had the War Raiders. Oh, wait, no, we don't anymore. Oh, and they're not called the War Raiders anymore. They're called the Viking Experience. Oh, wait, they're not the Viking Experience. They're the Viking Raiders now. Okay, so do we have them? Are they doing both brands? Oh, they are. Oh, wait, no, they're not. Okay, they're gone. Wait, so they just defended the titles. Oh, so we got to belt the people they just beat. Thanks, great, Vince, appreciate that. So you got that ordeal. And with the Kyrie thing, where like
got put out of the sport.
They you know, like I don't know what the end game was as far as what they were planning on doing with Kyrie, but I do know this: she came up, and because there were two people that were talks about they were going to be moved to the main roster pretty soon, and one was Aleister Black, another one was another one was Kyrie, and that was like back as far as by all accounts as far as like Royal Rumble. So we get to Takeover New York, and after Takeover New York, they do a new show open. Showing the entire roster, and this is what they do, and we're trying to showcase our stars in front of the show. Kairi Sane's on it.
Yeah.
But 2 days later after WrestleMania, Kairi Sane debuts, and then the next day she's also on the show open for the new Takeover, which means like clearly they thought that she was staying back for releasing another cycle. What the fuck's going on? So a whole bunch of stuff got moved around and mixed up, and like this, honestly, this cycle of television, aside from the storyline of how they got Kyrie off of TV, and the reason why EO's on the warpath against them, and the stories between like Riddle and Gargano involved with Undisputed, as Undisputed seems to be fraying apart at the seams, and then they reconnect at the end. Like, that was really the two main things that really worked as far as for this show on their television leading up to this. The other stuff, the injury to Dijak, they had to switch up and go with oh my God,
Tyler
Breeze.
Yep.
Yeah. The tag match stuff was always never really well thought out, but whatever. So then we get the show, and I really liked the show. I didn't love it like I loved previous takeovers, but I don't know. Like, what are your general thoughts before we go match by match?
So on, the takeovers, like, these things are super competitive. They're super, like, they're not only competitive, like, among each other, like, show versus show. It's, like, competitive as who gets the matches on the show. So It was, like, I don't think we got a Pantheon level show, which would have been, like, NXT Takeover New Orleans, New York, Phoenix, or War Games last year, something like that. I don't think we got that. I think we got something that's just right on the level below. Still a great show, still an all-time show. I rated the matches as such. Of course, the natural comparisons are to Double or Nothing. I don't think it was Double or Nothing, like, is the way it made me feel as a fan, but I like the wrestling on this show a lot more. When you start talking about, some of the stuff that happened with the women's match that didn't quite click, or some of the, I think that's really the only real one that I would probably say. The four-way didn't quite click all the way, but I thought this was a great show as well, and it was an interesting show because I feel like there are some things that are being set up, and then I feel like there are some things that are just stopped dead in their tracks, like Shayna. And I've joked she's not allowed to be called up to the main roster. I've never said why, but clearly,
I don't think we need to like explicitly say why, but I mean, you kind of have an idea.
Yeah, and
it's besides just the age, because Mickie James is like a little older than her, I think.
Right, and she's just not allowed to be there. So. But yeah, like I thought this was like, I really enjoyed it. It was compact, and I think takeovers are going to benefit, even with AEW putting on great shows. There's always potential for something not to go right at some of those points, and takeovers mastered their formula by this point. It's 5 matches, no matter what, and it's competitive as hell to get on that card. And when you're on that card, you have to come through. And I don't think Tyler Breeze did that. And Tyler Breeze has his own career trajectory. It's better than what he was doing on the main roster. Let's not get it fucked up. Like, it wasn't like it was some kind of, dud or anything he had. I think, that match, and then the Io and Shayna match, it prevented this from going to the top tier. But when you're talking about the main event, it's probably my match of the year in WWE thus far, and maybe worldwide. And it was just like,
really,
yeah, bro, I loved that match last night.
You thought so?
Well,
you have
okay. It's not better than Kenny Tanahashi. Let me stop.
That's what I was getting at. I was like, really? Like, okay.
And also, I think on that same level is like Jay White Okada. So,
Okay. Yeah.
So I kind of look at those like you got your Kenny Tanahashi, then those two are like kind of battling.
What about like Okada Ishii from the final of the semifinal of the New Japan Cup?
I probably have that in the next tier below.
Okay.
Yeah, and but it was I think Adam Cole has silenced everyone forever, and I was
kind of
and after these last like two performances, seeing how over this guy is, and it's like I understand now, and I didn't for a while, and I feel like this. I don't want to pat myself on the back for like coming around on people, but I feel like when we ask these things of these people and wonder why, and we have questions. They're valid questions. It's like, all right, when is Jay White going to wrestle at a main event level? Oh, it finally happened. Okay, I'm not tripping on him anymore. Okay, when is Cody going to start stepping up? Okay, I'm not tripping on him anymore. Then now, like, is Adam Cole's turn for us to come around and be like, yo, you weren't just a guy in there making the dude look good. You were looking good too. So, and Johnny, like, can we just say it?
I mean, I think we started asking because we actually went through after someone talked about this in the Social Suplex collaborative thread or whatever you want to call it. I mean, at this point, should we just call it the thread because we've referenced it so much?
Yeah.
We're on the Social Suplex thread. I think it might have been Tom or it was either or maybe it was Rob, but he was like, "Is he the greatest in-ring performer in WWE history?" And my response was, like, that was a question that should have been asked like 4 months ago, like after the Phoenix match with Ricochet. And honestly, I went back and because I remember him and Becky Lynch both mopped up in a One Nation Radio Awards. So I went back and you actually said it for in-ring performer of the year when he won it. You said like somebody that's in the discussion. You said that on New Year's Eve. Rich, right? So like we've been talking about this. Now at this point, it's like he just run up the score. He just run up the score now at this point. Like he is going to have at this point he'll have 4 official 5-star matches and whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But and all the stuff about Meltzer's and NLBO. Now that we got that past that, we moved past that point. He's going to have that. How many has the main roster had ever? 5, 6?
Yeah, something like that.
What is it? Okay, let's see. It's both the ladder match, right?
Right.
WrestleMania 10. Did the cage match on in Brett, right?
Hell in a Cell.
The submission match WrestleMania 13.
Yep.
Right? You mentioned the first Hell in a Cell, right?
Yeah.
Was there another one between then and Money in the Bank?
WrestleMania 25 or no, nope. Yeah, it was not 5 stars.
It should have been, but it didn't.
They've got CM Punk and John Cena.
Yeah, so that's it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
So he has as many 5-star matches as the entire history of the main roster. Now, granted, like some of those Undertaker WrestleMania matches should have been 5 stars. Whatever. It is what it is. But like that's kind of what we're talking about right now. Like, and the conversation came up is like, all right, do I think he's the best in-ring performer in the company ever? No, I don't even think he's the best in-ring performer in the company right now. I think Andrade's a better, like, top or more complete, more spectacular, more talented performer than Johnny is.
I'll say this about Andrade, and I was talking about this with Josh. It's like, I'll put Andrade up against anyone ever in WWE. Ever. I mean, like, just when you talk, because I think
wait. That's ever been in
that's ever
hold on. That's ever been in WWE or their tenure or like their peak at their tenure.
That's ever been in WWE.
Like so, what
like
I'm
talent wise, like because there's talent versus output that we're talking about, and opportunity.
No,
those are like yeah.
So you think, for example, I'm confused. I've asked one question. Do you think that Andrade is more talented than any person that has ever been on a roster at any point ever, or do you saying that like at his peak as a performer or talent is higher than anybody's level than when they were in WWE?
I think he's as good as anyone to ever wrestle at a top level. He can match it or be better.
Wow. So you think he's more talented than like, I don't know, Eddie, Benoit, Angle, Shawn? I
think he's right there with all of them.
Okay. I mean, I would go for right there with him, but I'm just like, dude, like, like Eddie when, you know, Ray, like those dudes are crazy. I mean, he's on that level as far as like, he just doesn't have at least in WWE, he hasn't had the opportunity to do it as often. But yeah, I agree. Like those Johnny and Andrade matches are like some of the best fucking wrestling matches I've ever seen in my life. And they're not like drop each other on their fucking necks or high on their necks or on their head. They're not, you know, concussing each other either. Like it's just clean, flat out wrestling.
Except like, you know, the knees up against the posts and all
but
that shit.
But that should work though. Like,
I know,
you know,
yeah.
Okay, you joking. All right, I'm just saying. I could definitely see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but Gargano's output is just gonna like. It's gonna be crazy, and you know
he's gonna be like 50 Cent talking about Jay-Z. He's like the consistency just breaks your neck.
Yeah, it is like, man, where does Johnny go from here? And it's like, does he go to the main roster, or do we start trying to figure out when his contract's up?
Man, I've been trying to figure that out since since Philly. I've been trying to figure that out, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, and that was a huge conversation. Is like. Back then was like, after this match between Gargano and Almas, is Johnny like the next guy that could be the top star? That could be the top guy. And we all came to the same conclusion immediately, like, no, he's too small. And it's not because he's too small to draw people in business and believe in him and want to watch his promos and his matches and his television time. It's that he's too small for it to work in Vince McMahon's wrestling circus. So, ever since then, I've been thinking like, you know, whenever he like, maybe it could work because the talent is so incredible, and the thought that's put into his match is so incredible, and he's a good promo, but I'm not holding my breath on him becoming a star as a singles act in the company. And when they brought him and Ciampa up together as a tag team and the DIY thing, I thought, okay, we've seen previously times where they brought up NXTers and they've kind of forgotten what got them over in the first place in the lab, and Vince, you know, too long didn't try to recreate what he thinks what connected people to them. So I thought, all right, you know what? They brought him as DIY. They didn't beat him. They beat a team much bigger than him in the bar. Maybe they actually do the DIY thing. They do Ciampa versus Gargano on the main roster, you know, and we'll go from there. But Ciampa got hurt, and now it's singles, and you see what they're doing with Ricochet. And if they can fuck up Ricochet, they'll I feel like if you fuck up Ricochet, you're definitely gonna fuck up with Johnny.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in feeling that way?
It's crazy. It's like, I don't know if they're gonna like, Ricochet's a much worse talker than him, but
yes.
It's like, how can you fuck Ricochet up? Like, I don't.
But he's spectacular. But the thing with Ricochet is, yes, he's 5'9", 5'8", but the thing is, he's the most spectacular wrestler in the entire world. And like, from what I've heard anyway, the women liked him some Ricochet. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
how can you fuck it up?
Right, right. Like, you can't say, oh, he's some guy that can't work, blah, 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 because he's one of the best wrestlers in the entire world, one of the best wrestlers this country's ever produced. Can't say that. He's attractive, so women might want to, you know...
take him down.
Sure.
Tackle him.
Sure, we'll go with that. So it's like...
rip his shirt off on the way to the ring.
Okay, people want to fuck Ricochet.
Throw the box at him.
People want to fuck Ricochet. So because that is the case, is like, all right, you can figure some stuff out with him or whatever else. Like, this could be like a better packaged version of Neville. He's bigger than Neville. He wrestles at that same consistent level of he's one of the best in the world, and he has a great physique, but he's also more traditionally attractive. Okay, you got something there. He's a 50-50 guy that's putting over a dude that's almost in his 40s. Look, Cesaro is somebody that should have gotten this shot 5 years ago, literally 5 years ago. He never got it. They've always made him a tag team wrestler. He's one of the great tag wrestlers in the company's history. How many different teams does he with his partner have
3
came up to be a consistent tag team staple of whatever division they were in at the time? Yeah, so 3. I was asking rhetorically because anyway. So, but they're putting him in a 50-50 thing with him, and it's like. The bloom's already off the road with Cesaro. We know he can wrestle his ass off. We know that this dude, if you had tried it before, could have gotten something out of it. People have kind of already given up hope, right? Like, I'm not saying it's as far going as Ziggler, but like, the window, you have missed the window.
He's no longer open.
Right. So, I mean, I don't. If they could do that with Ricochet, Johnny, who's smaller, God bless him, right?
Yeah, God bless him. But let's go through this show, man. It was an electric opener with Matt Riddle beating Roderick Strong. This was probably my most anticipated match of the night just because I'm such a mark for Matt Riddle, and Roderick Strong is vaulted up the list of guys. It's just so physical and violent for such a small, fast-moving man. And I thought these two just beat the fuck out of each other. I went 4.5 on this, and it was just like, this is how I'm beginning to like wrestling. Like, this is like the style that I'm kind of enjoying the most. It's like real physical. It's like a fight, and I think that's why I kind of like the Omega and Jericho match. It was like, it wasn't spectacular or anything, but it was a fight, and it looked like it hurt, and the better person won. Like, this is just what I liked, and I think these two tore the house down. Like, to begin.
Yeah, I agree. I love Roddy. I still think that, I don't know, man, like between Undisputed with him and O'Reilly, like, they were such a great tag team because one guy is like the MMA guy, the submission specialist type, and then they played each other well because like one guy's submission guy and the other guy is like the striker and dude that like just tears your back up all the time and just strikes the hell out of you and just tries to break you over his knee all the time. So like then I tag in O'Reilly and O'Reilly can stretch you, right? like he beats him up, he makes you tap, right? That's kind of like the thought process. And like to see Roddy like back as a single wrestler, and you forget like him and O'Reilly are both like two guys that are extremely overqualified for these jobs that they have.
Yeah.
When they were a tag team, right? So it's cool to see that Roddy, and also that match he had with Gargano a few weeks ago. Like it's really cool to see them back, or see him like back as a singles guy, and see him go out there and just beat the hell out of people and get the hell beat out of him. And I mean, Riddle. I mean, at this point now, dude, I don't think there's really much I really enjoy much more in WWE, all of WWE, than like that span of, I don't know, 90 seconds to 30 to 90 seconds where like Riddle just decides, I'm just gonna beat the hell out of you and just throw you about on your neck, on your shoulders, on your back, and I'm just gonna just strike the hell out of you, like,
and kick you and V-trigger you, and
it's just great. Like I like the knees, just constant, it was excellent. Like this is probably, after watching this match, I thought to myself, who else would I want to see my Riddle or Roddy fight? I love to see him also. I want them to bring back Aleister Black so he can have two matches with both of them.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine how awesome Aleister Black versus Riddle would be?
Yeah. Riddle's a fucking superstar, and I think he's the next champion.
Like, it's just some visceral, like, because it's so simple in his approach, right? Like, there's no, like, granted, there's obviously, cooperation. This isn't a fucking shoot, but you look at like the Johnny and Cole match, and that match is fantastic. That's probably the second best match I've seen this year, because I don't watch as much New Japan as you. But still, it's something to be said as far as you go through all of those hoops and all of that to get there, and it took you 30 minutes. And another thing that was like, okay. Or even someone like Ricochet versus Pete Dunne, where it's like, this is so well wrestled, and they're just getting in and out of sequences and transitioning, and they know each other, and everything's scouted, and they come up with these ideas that are just like out of this world as far as counters and stuff. It's another thing which is like, these two they're going to do some of the choreography stuff, but like really what they're going to do is like, they're going to throw knees and forearms at each other, and then like between that they'll throw each other around either on the ground, on their backs or against someone's knee on their back or whatever else, and then we'll just we'll work body parts like, oh, I'm going to work over your back, and then I'm going to put you in the freaking walls of Jericho.
Yeah.
So the Lion Tamer. It was just awesome to watch. They just beat the hell out of each other. And Riddle, like that time where he just says, I'm pissed. The piss Riddle is like one of the best, like the best 2 minutes of wrestling you can see. He just is right now. And you feel it in I'm sorry, my point was like, you feel it in a visceral way that like you don't feel it with like everybody else is like, oh, big move, me, kick out. I was supposed to like, dude, that looked like that hurt.
Right. Right.
It looked like that hurt.
Like I don't want to fight that guy. Like something like that. But up next we had the 4-way ladder match for the vacant NXT Tag Team titles. The Street Profits, us, winning the NXT Tag Team Championships. Defeated Undisputed Era, Fish and O'Reilly. Cutler and Wesley Blake, the Forgotten Sons, and Lorcan and Birch, who have kind of just seen better days. But I went 4 stars on this. I thought it was trending higher because these people decided to just lay it on the line like damn near no one else has in the history of the sport, just falling on ladders, falling off ladders, throwing ladders around the wrong way, not caring whether someone was there or not, and it was just very dangerous. Sheamus definitely would have gotten injured in this match. And my only thing I didn't like about this match was the build around Jackson Riker for how long it took. And it was just like, oh, fuck. Here it goes. And this guy is beating everyone's ass. You can see he's balding. And he's just like turning around the camera. And it's like, hold on. Does this entire match exist to get Jackson Riker over? Like, that's what I was thinking to myself at one point. But right team won. They got it on track. They got him out of there. They threw ladders at him, but he kept getting up like he was fucking Jason Voorhees or something. And I was like, oh my God, is this their way of protecting him? Like, why are you here in the first place?
Yeah, I would say that on TV in the last week, they have put over that like he is a monster that you must to lay out. You have to, basically shoot him with a damn bazooka, right? But I don't think it was the right place or time for that because it wasn't his match in it. So what are you really showcasing?
Right. If he was that fucking good, they would give him a fucking match. But they know that it's competitive for these spots on these takeovers. And they can't waste Jackson Riker coming out there and having a substandard match because it'll ruin, everything about him. So, like, it's like you bring this bullshit out here and it's like, I'm not rocking with this.
And the thing is, right, if you feel that strong about it, cool. Put him in the match. Tell Blake or Cutler to fuck off for tonight, or bring them in later and put the belts and belt them. I'm not suggesting you do that, but if you feel the need that you need to showcase him that damn badly, then really showcase him. I don't need that in my match because it was really. I mean, he's had interactions with Birch and Lorcan. He's had interactions with Undisputed. This really was only just last week's television. Uh-huh. So like. Yeah, it just felt like, and another thing is like they shot an angle last Wednesday where Undisputed, all 4 of them, they beat the hell out of him. They had Cole and Roddy both throw him off the ramp to the floor. They beat up the rest of the tag teams. Then they see him and then they're in the ring. All 4 members of Undisputed. They go to pose. They look over. They see Riker getting back on the ramp. So Cole gets out the ring. lifts up a ladder from underneath the ring, and all 4 of them use it as a battering ram to crash against his skull or whatever. Then they go to pose again. He gets on his hands and knees. So then they have to get the ladder again, and they smash it down across his back and lay down. Then they hit their pose. So in theory, they took him off the table, right?
You would think.
So then they had to go through all that again, and that was like that pulled attention away from the match in a way that wasn't really all that that wasn't needed. So it was just like they just threw this extra on. It was very main rosterish. Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, you know, we still got the moment where, you know, and you think about it now in retrospect, like we had this spear between the ladder from Angelo Dawkins, and we got the end where Montez springboards onto the ladder and does basically like the Bailey at Money in the Bank deal, except it's just Cutler. It's not Mandy and Sonya. It's more or less the same thing, except it's NXT, so that's more exciting. So it's a springboard, that's climbing up the ladder. So they got their 2 moments in, but it's like next time, don't do that. Yeah. And if they're going to do it in the future, don't do that. Like you have what Toronto 2 is in mid-August. You have you have how many sets of tapings? Maybe 3, maybe 4 before you have to get to next takeover. You can build him and all of that to get to that point.
And if he doesn't have a match on the next fucking takeover, Jackson Riker, right?
He's gonna be on the pre-show next for takeover for Toronto too. You know that.
It's such a fucking scam. I swear. This is a fucking scam. Like Anyway, I'll leave my NXT as a scam debate for another day. Velveteen Dream defeated Tyler Breeze to retain the North American title, and this was the battle of gimmicks. And I thought they had no chemistry. I thought they cut Tyler Breeze's nuts off after the match, and I'm like, where does he go from here? When the Velveteen Dream hype gets really high, it's, oh my god, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world and all this stuff, and I'm like, slow it, because matches like this will happen, and like something will not go right. He's still a young guy. And when we say he's a young guy, he's legitimately a young guy, not that 26-year-old young. He's like that 23-year-old young, the limited experience young, the not having enough matches under his belt young. And he does a lot of good things in the ring that get people to pop for him. But on takeovers, like I said, it is a competitive environment. And then when something comes out, and this was not a bad match, I gave it the gentleman's 3. But I thought there was more on the table for them. And I don't know if it was necessarily anyone's fault. I don't know if it was just Breeze has been on the main roster a long time. It's been a long time since he's worked a long match like this. And something's just not clicking all the way with his presentation yet. Like, he doesn't feel like he has all his mojo back that he once had. And the whole storyline of this was hilarious. How they just said, the main roster fucked this dude completely up, and he turned to nothing, and now he's back. This was the low point of the night for me.
Yeah. How do I say this? I just don't get the story of the match. What the hell was this? What the hell were they going for? Like, the whole belt thing, I don't get it. Like, I really hate. I mean, this happens from time to time in WWE where like they have this match where like the champion is taking, quote unquote, taking the easy way out or whatever else, and then the person goes after them, and then they get the advantage, and they continue wrestling, and then like they don't use it as an actual. They just use it as like something to do. They use it as a spot. I'm just like, for me, it's like I don't. And then the whole belt thing, and then after all this stuff and then the post match, I just don't get. Is like he has big timed him at every single point of this entire feud. Velveteen is big leagued
Tyler Breeze.
Breeze. I don't know why. I want to call him for Breeze because of so at every single point, like he's done nothing but shown him disrespect and dismissed him. So why at the end of it are they taking a selfie, especially when the inciting incident was Velveteen's being an asshole and Breeze punches him in the face the first time they go for a selfie? Why? What was earned to where they now understand each other and respect each other to where they want to take a picture? That wasn't earned tonight. And the match or whatever else, I'm sure they have another match. I'm sure everybody that watched that match and or seen both of them previously feels that if they did another match, it would be better than this one. But whatever. Like there were no like botches or anything. It just times they were just awful and stuff. Yeah. And it felt like they were just different in like, I guess, philosophy, best for lack of a better word. Like Dream wants to have this 90s WWE main or WWF main event type of style. And sometimes he even goes to the late 80s, but Breeze just was not going for it. And it seemed to be a clash at different points throughout the match. And Dream is in there with somebody that's great. He's a great match. If he's in there with somebody that's not great, it's gonna be something. It's probably be something below. And most of that match was just like, all right, we're gonna get to a point to where they start doing the kickouts or whatever else, and that's kind of has been the thing that's propped up these and some of the ideas doing these near falls at the end have propelled and carried a lot of the weight in the build up to the end of these Dream matches. Like the Riddle one was great. The one with Tommaso Ciampa at War Games was incredible. But this one, the build up to it was so just weird that it just it wasn't as creative or spectacular as the stuff before in previous matches. That ending, that climax, that it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
But they really tried, but it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Up next, Shayna Baszler, she submitted Io Shirai to retain the NXT Women's Championship, winning via choke. And I thought it would be Io's time tonight. It was not. And instead, she was a sore loser at the end and grabbed a kendo stick and beat the holy fuck out of Shayna Baszler. Seemed to signal that there's another match coming, perhaps with some type of stipulation, because we're going to have to, in order to get the belt off Shayna, you're going to have to use a weapon or several of them. And I thought this was slow at times. I thought it was a well thought out match, but there was something missing. And I don't feel like Io Shirai's been used to the best of her ability in a long time, if ever, in WWE. And she was wrestling. She was trying very hard, and I think they had a decent match. I gave this one, I went 3 1/4 on it, and it was, I don't know. I thought it was a lot more. They had a lot more in the tank, but the Shayna Baszler style is becoming. I feel like this is where you're going to go with it, so I'll just throw it to you. The style that she's having these matches we're just getting familiar with her style now, James.
Yeah. Every match now has Gaga in it. Like every match since Evolution has Gaga. It's the rematch at Evolution. It was we're basically putting the Marina adjustment into the NXT world by having the interference, and Shayna gets her belt back. The next match at War Games, they interfere again. Then Io and Dakota Kai have to even the odds, and then Kyrie has Io beat. I said Kyrie has Io beat. Kyrie has Shayna beat, and she hits her with her fucking move, and then she reverses the move after getting landed on into a choke, or I think she caught her. I can't remember. So that there's that too. Then there's Phoenix with Bianca, and Bianca gets interference, and then she goes to fight through. She fails at the end after fighting to her feet out in the choke, and then she passes out. Then New York is pretty much Kyrie and Io are carrying the match, and then they ultimately stop each other from getting the title, which ultimately leads to Shayna tapping out Bianca. And now we get this match where there's interference, the odds are even, and then Shayna wins. I'm just over the gaga. Like, can we just get a straight fucking match? Like, the matches aren't bad, but they're not on the level. And part of the reason why not on the level is because they're using this shit as a crutch when it's not needed, because Shayna can wrestle her style all she wants to, but ultimately, like, she is very dependent on storytelling and selling, and Io is great at both of them, so you don't need this shit. Earlier, I got, as everyone knows, or most people know, like, I got a Stardom subscription in January, so they changed up a lot of they basically got rid of their library and are starting fresh and are rebuilding their library because they moved over to a new site or whatever. So I had to binge a shit ton of Stardom to watch, like, the classic matches or whatever else from previous years or whatever else, to kind of get myself acquainted with, like, how great these people are. How great is actually Kairi Sane? How great actually is Mayu Iwatani, Io, right. Whoever else, Momo, whatever. So I did that, and then I actually saw the match between Io and Shayna from the beginning of 2017. And it's funny because, like, you look at the Mae Young Classic and you look at who's in NXT now or NXT UK, and just like all they're doing is just like grabbing any gaijin
that has had a Stardom tour.
They ever did like more than 2 tours in Stardom, seemingly, right?
That's
so
funny.
But anyway, they had a match in 2007. It's more or less this match. It's a better version of this match where she hurts the arm, she works over the arm, and at different points, because Io is setting up to do the German suplex, or the bridging German suplex, like she did last night. She's so hurt that, and she does this too last night, but commentary doesn't put it over, where the arm is so shot and done that she's not clasping both hands together to deliver it. She's literally using her good arm and grabbing her wrist on the other arm and holding in place to fight, and then finally drop Shayna on her head at different points. And in the start of the match, there was other stuff. There was also at play a back injury that Shayna had to work through, so they're doing just incredible selling. Like, for those that saw the Shayna and Mia match from maybe like 6 weeks ago, it was that level of storytelling and selling. Anyway, you get to this match, and it's just wrestled at such a slow pace and
crowd silent.
Yeah, because they just saw a fucking ladder match. Or I'm sorry, not ladder match, sorry, because that was after the Breeze thing, but that's not what they want. Something fast paced. And also, like, the week before, most of the people saw other Joshis, and they saw them work that pace, that style, that physicality, that in that version, that much screaming or in it or whatever, as opposed to Kairi, she's silent. And
or
I don't know.
Yeah.
I keep saying Kairi. So I'm doing the Vince. Jesus. I just feel like they're not replicating what Io's, or they're not using her to the best of her ability of what she's really good at. And ultimately what she's good at is she's great at selling. She bumps like almost like AJ Styles, where, like, depending on, she's so good at bumping that she knows the type of splat she should take based off of the impact of what the move should be in your head of telling a story. She's that kind of talented. She's that kind of seller where where you can see agony and pain on her face. She goes out there, she can brawl. She's not a striker per se, like most of the girls you see throw mid kicks or whatever else. She's not really, she can do that. She doesn't really do that, but she can brawl. So there's all this stuff that she's good at, but they're not really, you're like, yeah, we're just trying to set you up for the moonsault. And then also she's one of the best flyers in the world, bar none. Right? One of the elite flyers. All they're using her is just for a moonsault. Damn. And it's like, it's weird.
And you think she's being handcuffed essentially? Like are they just like, are they putting the chains on her?
I feel that way, but it's weird because, like, I know they wrestle completely differently, and their strengths are different, but Kairi didn't have this kind of issue. Granted, Kairi is one of the best storytellers I've ever seen.
And I think she has a lot more fire than Io.
That's what I mean with the screaming. Like,
Yeah.
But the thing is, with Kyrie is one of those that like scream all the time. Stardom, even and also in Takeover, screamer, right? Screamer. Io, she gets to screaming, but when there's moments in the match where it's deserved. What's so funny?
Alex just responded to you earlier. He was like, Tupac and Kobe greater than everything else in life, and added you.
Kobe and Tupac.
Yeah, I'll go to Kobe part, but the other I can't rock with.
What were we talking about?
Io and Kyrie, the fire between them.
Yeah. Io's more the stoic type, but like when it's earned, when it's it's time for fighting, or sorry, it's fighting spirit, or it's time for firing up, is there when it's there. That wasn't really she didn't really get. It was almost like she wasn't feeling it. But the thing is, like, she's wrestling in impeccably smooth and everything, but it's just weird. Like, I don't know if she just didn't feel the story, or the crowd wasn't into it, so she wasn't into it. I don't know. But I will say I'm just at this point, like, I appreciate Shayna. I think that she's a great change of pace and a variety that the other women historically in NXT, like the best of them, weren't like. She's very much different. But I'm just over the interference with her two goons, and then just Triple H finish is like, oh, they come out, it's a distraction. Oh, then the person gets beat with her move in the middle of the ring. It's like that doesn't protect anybody. And then what they did with it at the end of the match with Kyrie basically pulling Roman Reigns at Great Balls of Fire, where like, I lost fair and square to a heel, I lose my shit, I beat the piss out of them out of nowhere. Like, that doesn't. To get my quote unquote heat back, it's like, here's an idea. If you feel like you need to get someone's heat back, don't book the match. Don't beat them.
Don't beat them.
Like, they could have gave, I feel like they could have gave her a better out. To like, if you want to do the beatdown, okay, let's say you want to do beatdown. We need a reason for why she snaps and beats this woman. What dastardly act did Shayna do that night that deserves that kind of beatdown? Don't tell me, it's because of what she did to Kyrie, and what she did to Dakota Kai months or almost a year ago, and what she's been doing by terrorizing the women's locker room. Like, that's cool.
I think they want you to think that, but they have to frame that better.
No, that's the reason why the fans chant you deserve it. But if you're watching that, and most people, good and damn well, most people are watching takeovers or tuning in to only watch takeovers. I was one of those people. They don't. Like, they have an idea, they may remember previous video package, whatever. They don't know that, like, she's still doing this, and they showed a video package of the Kyrie thing, but like, what happened that night that made her decide I need to now beat this woman up by literally like landing a moonsault chair on her? Like, I put a chair on my body and hit a moonsault on her. Like, if that was the case, why didn't you do that the first time you saw her? Why did the rules of this match compel you in that way? You know what I'm saying?
The rules of the match compel you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so you wrestle through this, like, this person it's personal, right? It's personal. You wrestle the rules of this match to a T, you lose fair and square, and now that's escalated you to lose your mind.
Like, nah, fuck this. Like,
like, the only thing that's telling me is you're a sore loser. The only thing you're telling me is that you're a sore loser, and like, I don't think that's a good look for a babyface ever.
Yeah, they had to turn Bret Hart heel because of that. This is bullshit. Everyone keeps turning a blind eye. And Bret was right, everybody. Always remember. And then the main event. The new champion. Adam Cole, baby. Adam Cole defeats Johnny Gargano for the NXT title. I went 5 stars on this match, and I loved it. They started at a slow pace, and at one point, I thought they were going to be off the pace when they had the ref bump. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to give it 4 3/4, ain't I? And then it just like, they fixed it. I don't know how they fixed it. But, Yeah, I enjoyed.
It's because he kicked. That's because that's when they did the what's it called? When they did the freaking Canadian Destroyer on the floor for a kick out.
Yes.
That's when you're like, holy shit! Like this match is incredible.
Bro, I thought he was gonna have to hit Johnny with a fucking shotgun, a 12 gauge to keep him down. The way he be kicking out his shit, but I loved it. I thought they built it slow. This kind of felt like a New Japan main event, and it was two little guys, really. Like, these aren't the biggest guys in the world.
No, those are little guys. Them dudes aren't little. They're little.
Like, I was seeing how, like I feel like, you know, the belt on my waist could wrap around Adam Cole's chest. Like, it's just like, like, holy shit. Like I can suffocate that man if I pull back on it or whatever. But yeah, I really like this match. And I think it's one of the best matches of the year. I think it's the WWE match of the year right now. And it basically removed the nothing feeling of the first two falls in the last match, and that I kind of felt, at least. And I thought that it's almost like, how do you top yourself? Because it's like, yeah, you know, Meltzer gave that one like 5.5 stars and all that, and I think he's gonna go higher with this one. I think he's gonna go like 5.75. I didn't think it was on that level. I thought this was a 5.
Let's see, like 5.75 is like, isn't that the end of the 2017 G1 Ishii?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Naito and Omega.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the second best match I've ever seen. So no, I'm not really. I'm not thinking I'm ready to go. They are actually the third best match I've ever seen. But I wouldn't go that damn far. But I think okay. So if you're a person that thought this was a 5, this is one of the greatest, or the New York match is one of the greatest matches of all time, and over 5 stars, whatever else, then yeah, you're gonna have to do that. Like, so Meltzer has worked himself into a shoot on that one. But me, I thought the first match between them was somewhere between a 4 3/4. I don't think it was. I personally don't think that it was better match bell to bell than his match with Ricochet at Phoenix. But you know, the story of he's been chasing after this thing for 2 years, and the crowd was against him winning the match, and by the end of the match, the last few minutes of the match, like, they desperately want nothing more than him to win it. Like, that is a masterful job of storytelling. So yeah, I can see why he.
But James, I thought they had no stories in these NXT matches.
Oh yeah, I guess so. So, so if that's how you feel, sorry, I got an ESPN alert. I thought I had my phone on mute. But if that's how you feel, I can see how you get to that point. But I personally think that bell to bell, the match that you got on, and also with the storytelling and them finishing other moves, and some of the sequences where, like, the submissions where Johnny towards the end has on the Gargano escape, and then, like, because his leg's been worked over, he actually has the leg up so that Cole can't get to it like he did before to escape before. So it's like, this is excellent. So I think bell to bell, that's the better match, and also it had a great story with it as well. So, like, I believe it's the better match. So, but you know, I don't know how people think, but, like, I thought the other match was a 4 1/4. I thought this was flat out 5, maybe even 5 1/4.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Dave Meltzer, he don't give out 5 1/4. We talked about this before. He only gives out 5s and 5.5s.
5.75. He's missing that one. So I think there's an outside shot that this gets 6. Just based on how Dave does it. So
I mean, if it gets 6, I just don't feel like it. I feel like he's tripping, honestly. Like,
yeah, I don't think this is better than Kenny and Tanahashi, but it's right below. So
I think that Kenny and Tanahashi's better. Not I think, I know it's better, but I never really considered both of them now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying in my mind to come up with which one's how much better one is than the other, but clearly the New Japan, the Tokyo Dome main event was the best match of the year. I think this is second right now, for me.
Yeah, man. Overall, just an all-time one of the great shows you'll ever see. In Takeover, it's so competitive. I keep coming back to that word, but it's damn true. So, if you guys didn't see the show, I would definitely recommend the opener and the closer. And if you can tolerate Jackson Riker, check out the ladder match. Nothing else really, you know.
Oh, one thing we can talk about the ladder match. You brought it up. we must give credit to Kyle O'Reilly for trying to fucking murder himself to entertain us.
Yes.
That dude is crazy. Like, people talked about Money in the Bank, all the shit that that Finn Balor put himself through in that match and the punishment he took. O'Reilly did like twice as many crazy things in that match.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath.
Oh, man.
Like, he is now an official don't give a fuck all-star. Like, you know, we say we want to about Adam. Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, one of the things that we've always given credit to Adam Cole for, even when we didn't know how good he actually was that when he took that crazy bump on his neck against Aleister Black, we were like, he's definitely he's about the craft. Like, he's willing to die for the craft, right?
The Dilly Gap All-Star. Right.
So, last night, Kyle O'Reilly became a willing to die for it all-star.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. But I guess we got to do a quick run through of the damn Saudi Arabia show, and then we could go ahead and get to watching Game 1 of the finals here. And they are going back to Saudi Arabia, of course, and in the main event, or the presumed main event, or whatever, Goldberg and The Undertaker. Now, I've watched a shit ton of Goldberg for the road to 173-0. With my freed up Tuesdays, I'll be able to pump those out at a little bit faster pace. And it's just like, I can't believe this match is happening. They are going to, Undertaker will be on Raw tomorrow. Goldberg will be on SmackDown on Tuesday. And I have no idea why they would have any type of beef with each other.
Is that an admittance that SmackDown is WCW? Like how we've always said it was for, like, people have been saying that for like, what, 15, 16, 17 years now?
No.
Is that a final admittance that SmackDown is actually, in fact, Nitro, and WCW and the big gold belt was always on SmackDown too?
No. WWE is WCW now. Got the 50-year-olds in the main event.
Okay, let me phrase that then. Now that's the case, so does that mean that SmackDown is Thunder?
Oh my God.
TBS.
Oh my God. I don't know. So we've got Goldberg and The Undertaker. Who you predicted, James? I'm gonna take Goldberg.
I'm taking The Undertaker.
Look, man, I don't know if Goldberg coming out here, flying all the way over to Saudi Arabia to lose.
I mean, this is what I'll say. It is WWE versus WCW.
You're right.
So you tell me who's winning that.
Then we got Triple H and Randy Orton in their never-ending battle to put us to sleep. They will do it at all costs. I guess Randy Orton wins, right? I don't know. Triple H didn't lose his last match.
Triple H is winning.
Triple H
is winning.
Why is Triple H winning?
One, Randy Orton don't give a flying fuck. Right? And then two, he's never been able to beat Triple H when it's ever in any big profile match. His whole career got hindered because of Triple H going over him. So why would it change now? So, like, you'd be like, oh yeah, he finally beat his foe, finally, after, like, they're both old and washed.
Oh my God.
And they're done as main eventers. Now he finally wins it. I mean, granted, Vince don't really care about stories, but in a long form sense, that is just some piss poor storytelling right there. Like, as far as like your storytelling to book a match as well. Like, you mean to tell me, like, he's gonna win here, but he couldn't win at 25? He couldn't win at WrestleMania 25.
Right.
Does that make sense to you?
No, not in the least. We got Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley for Lord knows what reason. I'm taking Braun Strowman.
Braun.
We got Finn Balor, the Demon.
Hold on. Yeah, like, my guy ain't got no eyebrows.
Oh my God.
And I need to know why my guy has no eyebrows. Why does this man not have eyebrows?
I don't know, but Klay Thompson looks like he's about to be on fire tonight.
Okay, let's run through it. Yeah. Braun.
there's the Demon versus Andrade. The Demon's winning.
Yeah, Andrade ain't gonna be no demon.
Yeah. We got Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon. My fucking God. Do I think they're crazy enough to put Shane McMahon over Roman Reigns? I am. I am that, but there's no fucking way. Like The Rock means no fucking way that Roman Reigns should be losing to Shane McMahon. I think he has to beat him because, so they can do their dumbass handicap match or whatever. But I look forward to not having to watch the week-to-week TV and the fallout of this shit. So, do what you want.
Has Roman lost a match since he's came back?
No.
Yeah, Roman.
Yeah. We got Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler, a match I would be very interested in seeing. However, I will not see it. As for the WWE title, I've got Kofi. He's not going over to Saudi Arabia to lose the championship to Dolph, of all people.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dolph Ziggler has a snowball chance in hell.
Right. Seth Rollins will be defending against Baron Corbin. Or so we think. Brock Lesnar overlooms with all this. They're saying he's going to cash in tomorrow, Monday Night Raw, just like they have the last couple weeks. I don't know what the fuck they're doing at this point. I don't care about the Universal title. I never have. And who knows? Seth Rollins leaves Saudi Arabia with the belt. I'll just say that.
Yeah, Seth.
And Brock Lesnar still has the Money in the Bank briefcase by the time this shit is over.
Probably, yeah.
We got Lars Sullivan versus the Lucha House Party. So, everyone's favorite racist and sexist and homophobe and ECC, Lars Sullivan will be taking on 3 members of the Lucha House Party. I'm upset that they did not recruit Sin Cara to help them deal with this. They've given Lars the full Brock Lesnar push. Lars is going to maul all 3 of these guys.
Yeah.
And it's Lars' first match on the main roster. So we already know what it is.
Yeah, Lars is winning.
50-man battle royal. My prediction for the winner. I'm going to take Brock, and he comes in at number 50 for the least amount of work or whatever.
Oh, my God. Who's in this fucking thing?
50 guys. Anyone you can think of. I don't know if people are eligible. I would pick Reigns, except he's in a match. I don't know if he's in the Battle Royal too, but I'm sure they'll be importing a bunch of big guys from NXT, and Largo Loopers, and various other motherfuckers to fill out the 50-man.
Yeah, I'm gonna say AJ so that they can say he already won.
He's injured.
He already won a. Oh, he's not in it.
He's injured. He got that back injury. He's out for a month.
Can I still get my joke off?
Sure.
I'm gonna say that they're gonna give him the win so they can say that he's won a title battle royal or like a greatest Royal Rumble before. So you say he's a Rumble winner, so they'll never have to have him actually win and then have a title match at WrestleMania because they like to not do that with him. Jesus, Battle's not in it. Yikes! This roster is very thin for the most talented roster in the world, maybe ever put together wrestlers. Yikes. Yeah, fuck it. I'll go Brock. I'll say Brock. I'll go Brock.
Is there anyone on SmackDown you can think of? Can Daniel Bryan win this shit? He's not
gonna be there.
That's right. I totally forgot about that. And all the women are sidelined as well.
Yeah. Sammy ain't gonna be in it either.
Yeah. Kevin Owens ain't gonna be in it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. McIntyre probably.
Drew McIntyre probably will win.
I say either McIntyre or Brock.
Yep. Okay, those are our picks. Yeah. If you choose to enjoy that show, let us know how it is. If there's something I must desperately watch, I guess I'll load the network up, but they're not about to get me to commit to live viewership for this. I still have not watched Crown Jewel. I do not intend.
So watch what?
Crown Jewel.
Can you do Super Showdown with the Undertaker voice?
Super Showdown. That one's actually easier. WWE Super Showdown. Equal to or greater or will exceed WrestleMania. Boy fucking boy.
Oh, man.
So, I think what I'm going to do now is watch the NBA Finals on mute so I don't have to hear their commentary and listen to part 2 of Jon Moxley throwing WWE in a fucking graveyard. What you got planned for the rest of the night, James?
Yeah, the finals, and then watching, and then listening to part 2 of the Keller deal.
I'm about to try to be efficient and do it both at the same damn time. So,
and then after that, because I stay up all times tonight, I'll probably catch up on Stardom because I'm behind. Actually, no, I probably need to do that because there's so many Stardom shows now. There's 3 that's stacked up on me, so I need to get through that so that I can then be able to use my Monday night on Stardom. So.
Yeah, how will that be? That's gonna be great. I'm gonna be on Keeping It Strong style. I'm gonna be stepping in for Jeremy. Jeremy has decided to take the Rich Crash approach and go on vacation. So Jeremy is gone. God. So I will be invading the show. We're gonna be reviewing some Best of the Super Junior nights, which will be interesting, seeing as how. But we'll also be talking about Jon Moxley and a couple other things and Dominion preview and different things like that. So, and I'm sure Gato will drop the Dominion card Tuesday morning after the show is out. But yeah, so I'll be on there this week. Of course, check out my appearance on the Military Industrial Podcast. And I retweeted the link so you guys can check it out. I may have butchered the name right there, but I think I said it correctly earlier in the show. So yeah, I don't know if Sunday shows are necessarily going to get longer now since we don't have the second show, but yeah, we're at 206 right now, so I think this is a good place to leave it.
We have turned this shit into like the flagship or Voice of Wrestling or like Solid Monster weekly deal where we're going 2 hours now. Wow.
Special week. So yeah. So anyway, that is going to wrap it up. We will holla at y'all. Fought with us, and yeah, it's you.
Such good shit.
Such good shit.
Later.
Peace.